Hi, folks. This is Kate Zim here with the Morning Ag Clips. And as we round out the end of National Forage Week, I wanted to highlight Envu. And this is Justin Hossfeld. He's the National Range and Pasture Sales Manager. And he is here to tell us a little bit about how important our forage value is in regards to when we're harvesting it, when our animals are out grazing on it, and what the weather has to do with all of it. So, Justin, welcome. It's good to talk to you today.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yeah. Well, first of all, just tell us a little bit about Enview and what you guys do on your side of things.
Sure. So Envu is a company very much focused on and what we call environmental science. So that is range and pasture. There's other divisions of the company that work on other ecosystems and landscape. But instead of being focused on a myriad of different things, we are very much ecosystem driven, utilization, performance in ecosystems, and improving them.
Okay, great. So you're primarily traveling around the country looking at different ecosystems and how it all comes together.
That's right. Our main goal is we try to find products that with using new technology that are very focused on improving both the ecosystem and its performance, but the profitability and sustainability for our customers. But you're right, we do work a lot in all through the US in helping people find solutions and ways, whether it be a herbicide, whether it's thought leadership. We have a digital platform called RangeView to help them come in and assess and see where their strengths are, where their weaknesses are, and how everyone can benefit by improving those.
Oh, that sounds great. So let's go back to National Forage Week and what the purpose is of it. And it's primarily the goal is to highlight the importance of forages in agriculture, environmental stewardship, and rural economies. So, Justin, let's dive in and tell me a little bit about what ranchers can do to increase their forage optimization and quality on a day-to-day basis.
You bet. And you're right. A lot of times forage is not always given the credit that it really should. There's 860 million acres of grazed acres in the US. There's a huge, acreage base for producing hay and other cellulosic sources for cattle. And they are can be our highest cost, but they also contain our highest equity. And there's what our operations are surrounded around. So when we think about National Forage Week, it's a great time to think about how important all that is to our company or to our operations and their company. So what we always want to do is take a look and help people determine it's not just a place for cattle. It's equity, it's pounds of beef, it's ways that they can improve their bottom line, they can have a better return on investment, and they can have a greater risk protection against the very market influences that could be working against them.
Absolutely. I mean, I know in my past life, I was a dairy nutritionist on dairy farms, and it was all about relative feed value and,
Hmm.
the quality at which our farms were putting their forages up at. And then on the other side of it is depending upon that quality was going to be the driving factor on what they had to buy for supplementing what their feed didn't have in value. So very, very important and can slide quite quickly depending on the weather variables and such things that are impacting. And so one of those things is pests and how important it is to keep that forage healthy and protected against pests. So talk to us a little bit about that.
You bet. And those pests can range. They can be an insect or it can be a weed pest. And
Yeah.
for a lot of the range and pasture space, it is those invasive annual species, those invasive weed species that are coming in and working against that forage base. And not only are those species a lot of times not very palatable, sometimes can be pretty low in forage quality, but they're very parasitic. So as they're using that precious moisture and those nutrients, they're actually lowering the quality of the perennial and native species that we rely on. So by removing those pests, not only do we get more forage, we've seen in a lot of cases in the West with invasive annual grasses. If we remove them, we can see up to 3 times more forage by doing that. But we're also improving that forage quality
Right.
because now that forage has all the resources. So they're doing a better job of fixating that nitrogen and the phosphorus and the potassium, all those micronutrients that are so expensive to buy. If we can get those perennials to do a better job of having those, we're increasing our equity and our return on investment on that forage.
Right. We don't have to put as much into the fields as well.
That's right. And supplements to support the cattle's health.
Absolutely.
Right.
So how should ranchers begin to formulate a strategy for combating these invasive species?
So the best, we always tell people, look at how your cattle are performing, look at where you're doing the best and where you're not. But a lot of times that's hard to do on a wide landscape, on a big landscape. We have a product we call RangeView that's a digital platform that uses satellite imagery and a very robust algorithm that can look at that pasture and tell you where the species composition is, where you're doing better and where you're doing worse. But we can also give a grazing heat map to where you can see the acres you're leaving behind, the pounds of beef you're leaving behind, so that you now know where best to invest. Because input costs are one thing that we have to manage our very best. And we want to make sure we're investing ourselves in the very best place we can be. And being more informed and having a better understanding of that makes sure that investment is the best it can be.
Right. It's protecting the bottom line.
There you go.
All right. And how have the weather conditions impacted forage quality this year? I know there's a lot to talk about out in the heartland.
There certainly is. We travel the West daily now as we're getting into the main application seasons and forage utilization season. And we've seen areas where it never even greened up. If we get in the northern plains, grass is still brown left there from last year. We've seen some areas that got some pockets of rain, got some forage started, but we know we need those pastures almost year round. And if that moisture doesn't keep up, then we're going to have to monitor those acres as well. So as we know, with this moisture stress that we have, this drought stress that we have, it's going to challenge us more to be more proactive, to be more informed, to making sure that we are moving like we should be, that we're using every bit we can. And if we now know that our grazing season, our length of days have changed, what other things do we need to complement that? It's a lot cheaper to buy hay now than it is in the winter when you don't have it. So that's been
Right.
our advice to our customers is use every tool you can to make sure you know where you're at and what you have so you can be as proactive as you can be and making sure you manage your costs and be most productive.
Yes, I proactive is definitely the key here in most everything that we do, but it takes a lot of intentionality to be
Yes, it
proactive.
does.
And
Yes,
I
it
know
does.
my son has been out in the Midwest this summer, working with a custom harvest crew. And the good news is that they just started second cut, and he said the volume is much bigger than it was initially for first cut due to they have gotten a little bit more rain that they've needed at important times, at least in the part of Kansas where he's been focused. But it continues to be something that we're monitoring because those crops affect all of us, not just in this country, but outside of the country, and we need to have feed.
That's right. You're so right. And our food chain has become a global food chain, and you're right. So when one region starts to struggle, it really is helpful if another region can respond, or that those ripples are in that pond through the whole thing. And you mentioned earlier, that well, not only for just the livestock producers and the ag industry itself, but for the local economies and the and
Mhm.
and the local towns and people that rely on them. Having all of that tied together is very important so everyone knows where they stand.
Well, food is the infrastructure. It is the backbone of everything that we do. And if that chain is broken anywhere as a result of things that are out of our control, like the weather, um, we have to compensate. And that's where that proactive and intentionality
That's right.
comes into play very much every single day.
Yeah, that
So
is for
you can't take your foot off the gas pedal, that's
sure.
for sure.
No, no, you can't. And again, I think that's where we want to be there as a resource to the producers to make sure that we're providing them the insights and the tools to that they're as well as formed as they can be. So, for example, with Rangeview first came about to help us manage our herbicide treatments,
Okay.
to scout the weeds, to look at the level of infestation, make those treatments, and then monitor re-encroachment. But since then, we've brought in new modules to where now they have a new resource. It helps them manage that resource, but also we can go in there and forecast how much forage they have per acre. We can help them forecast how many grazing days, how many AUMs, and then with those grazing heat maps, we can show them where maybe it's a fence move or maybe it's developing water to make sure you're getting all of the benefits from all the acres you can, because in years like this year, it's going to take that to be able to be sustainable and to be
Yeah,
successful.
it's as if you have to go to every corner of the
That's
property
right.
to grab what you can for nutrients, for the animals and for harvest too.
That's for sure. Yes.
Yeah. So one more question. Are there any tools that ranchers can turn to help them with the grazing management, both with the products that you offer through Envu, Rangeview, but also just in general, anything that's always on your mind as an enhancement, value added?
Absolutely. As you know, as we just discussed, our range view tool, which can be very specific to them, it's daily, it can, and it's in real time. It can be sending them alerts so they can be working on one thing and know where they're at on another. It's that silent partner that's helping you work on the ranch while you work in the ranch. But also the NRCS, there's other tools out there from RAP and other decision making tools that are out there for them to be using so that they're not, and I don't want to use the word guessing, but so that they make sure that the assessments and the way they are informed is as accurate as it can be. But again, it could be our tool, it could be Pasture Map. The NRCS has great tools.
Yeah.
They actually have some grazing management modules that you can go in and start entering days and cattle and start making those calculations for them. There's a lot of access. I think my advice is I know it can be overwhelming, but the big thing is get out there, get to looking and trying those tools because they are very beneficial, especially with all the forces that we have pulling on us today. We don't we put a lot more pressure on ourselves. We don't have as much help. We're now a banker. We're now a stockbroker. We're
Yeah.
managing so many things that anytime we can bring more tools, we're going to be more successful.
Yeah, and I think with these tools comes humans too, to help
There
guide
you
you
go.
through the process of using the tools and giving you things that should be discussed and having those discussions openly so that you don't feel alone and overwhelmed. And with technology coming at us as fast as it is so easy to feel buried in
That's right.
numbers and technology. That it's nice to have a partner like yourself, Justin, who can walk you through some different things to look at as a way to start, a place to start.
Absolutely. And they can be a great sounding board. Sometimes
Yes.
you have the answer, you know it's right. It's just nice to bounce it off someone to make sure that you're seeing it correctly. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah, having somebody to agree with you is very powerful. Well, listen, I just want to thank you for taking the time to talk with us today. We're towards the end of National Forage Week, but we wanted to be able to highlight some of the things that you and your company do and all the great work and help that you're giving farmers and ranchers across the country.
You bet. Well, it's very important. It's a very precious resource. We want to be there to help them, but thank you for the opportunity.
You're very welcome. Knowledge is power. So
There you go.
thank you all for listening today, and tune into your morning ag clips every day so that you can be knowledgeable and powerful with everything that you do in agriculture every day. Take care.